Actually, many states in Africa are not even struggling to choose which side to support when it comes to the war that is happening between Ukraine and Russia. It's very easy. The choice is very simple. Many states, many liberation struggles were assisted by Russia. And America, in most cases, was found to be supporting the opposite number. The colonial masters were supported by, even the apartheid government was supported by America. America supported the apartheid government very strongly. It never wanted the South African to get their liberation. That is why you see South Africa always fought or side with Russia. It's common sense. Even in Botswana, I heard on the radio they were saying, I thought maybe Botswana was not assisted by Russia. But to my surprise, they say they received some assistance from Russia. Zimbabwe, West, Mozambique, Tanzania, and a lot more. And most of the assistance that was coming from Russia, it did not have any strings attached to them, unlike what America always does. They have to support you, they have to help you, so that they can get some oil, they can get some minerals, they can get something, they can build something. They always do that. They can put a base, and their bases are scattered all over the world. I'm told that there are more than 700 bases, American bases, scattered all over the world. So for us Africans, unless you don't know your history, unless somehow you are screwed up in your head, you can't support any other nation. You just have to support Russia. It supported us when most of these colonial governments were very strong, very, very strong. And now the AK-47, that gun, which is sometimes even used by robbers to do this heist, steal money or rob this education transit of their money. It's a gun that came from Russia to assist to fight colonizers. That AK-47, that is the time when it was very popular. And from there on, of course, most of these guns are still hanging around, and maybe some are being imported by governments for their defense purposes. But for Swaziland now, for the democratic activists, those who are fighting for democracy, which side should they choose? Which side should they choose? And do they have any choice? Which side of their bread is really buttered? Who is with them in their fight for democracy? Who is with them in their fight for democracy? I asked that question. And America has always had bilateral relations with the Swaziland since it gained its independence in 1968. And they had it assisted Swaziland in a lot of other different, in a lot of fields, security, health, especially their fight against the AIDS, and many other sectors of their government. I'm told that through the security assistance program, the US brings approximately 6 members of the Swazi military forces per year to the United States for education and training purposes. And also the US supports training of Swazi law enforcement entities in regionally based training and capacity building, such as at the Law Enforcement Academy in Gaborone, Botswana. About 15 Swazis are trained each year on specialized skills. And in 2018, Eswatini gained eligibility for preferential trade benefits under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, after enacting legislation to reforms on freedom of assembly, association, and expression, and internationally accepted workers' rights. Maybe they just claimed this is where the king maybe lied, that he had established all those freedoms and that he had not done so. So the relationship between America and the king is very strong. I once said in one of my videos that you don't have to expect any help if you are Swalimo, if you are Budemo, if you are any other democratic grouping there in Swaziland. You don't have to expect any help from America. And we said the king, I said in that video that the king is America's boy. The king is their man, is their guy there in Swaziland. Because you remember, King Mswati refused to have bilateral relations with China. And rather it has bilateral relations with Taiwan. And Taiwan is a very big opponent of China. And I think we are going to have another Ukraine in Taiwan. China is ready to attack Taiwan at any given moment, especially after sensing the weakness of NATO. The fight, the war in Ukraine is just proving to China that NATO is very weak. So very soon, I don't know what time we are going to have war. China is going to attack Taiwan. And Taiwan is tied very strongly to the king, King Mswati. And Taiwan and America are, in fact, America, there are moments when it threatens to defend Taiwan in case it is attacked by China. It is given some Dutch courage by encouragement that it gets from United States. So you can see the nature of the relationships unfolding here. Taiwan is a friend, has got very, very, very strong bilateral relations with Eswatini. And America has got very, very strong bilateral relations with Taiwan. So naturally, America is not going to encourage or rather support anything that will try to depose the king. It will work flat out, maybe indirectly, not actually directly. It will work indirectly to make sure that the king, through other forms of support, America always does that. If it really wants a regime to stay in power, for its own interest, America it doesn't hide that it supports nations, it supports regimes because of its own interest, not the interest of the regimes, not the interest of anyone else. It will be doing it for its own interest. So it will try to keep the king in power for the sake of making sure that Swaziland will never fall under any government that is friendly to China. So naturally, I think the pro-democracy activists have got a side to choose, which is Russia. But I don't think Russia is going to help the pro-democracy fighters anyway. Because Russia, when it was helping all these nations that I've talked about, all these liberation struggles, it was helping them against colonialists, against imperialists such as America, France, Britain especially, because Britain it colonized quite a lot of states in Africa. I've never come across a situation, or rather, I have no knowledge of Russia giving assistance to a nation that is fighting its own black brother, like pro-democracy activists will be fighting Mswati. I doubt very much that Russia would help them to do that. Because it is not the nature of Russia to do that. Russia was always geared to fight. Russia was always ready to assist these liberation struggles to fight against imperialists. So maybe you have to find out whether they can help, or maybe are they already helping, because there is a wing that is already fighting in Swaziland there. It is undeclared, or rather self-declared. They are fighting already. The fight is already raging on in Swaziland, and I think the king knows it. He's quite aware that there are people who are already fighting him. They are bombing police camps, they are bombing his construction company sites. They are doing all sorts of havoc in the police. Some police officers are resigning. Chaos is building up in Swaziland. And I don't know, but I don't know what actually, where it is going to, how far it is going to escalate, and to what level it is going to escalate. But I believe it is going to escalate to higher levels where the king might really accept the idea of a dialogue, meaningful dialogue, not just a dialogue for the sake of dialogue. I really appreciate the fact that these democratic uh, activists are now very active, launching some kind of guerrilla warfare against the Mswati government. And the Mswati government doesn't even know what is hitting it, because guerrilla warfare is a warfare that is very difficult to fight against. It is always very difficult to fight someone who is hitting you and hiding, hitting you and hiding. It's very difficult, especially if they end up not having a lot of people in the communal areas, in the rural areas who support them, who hide these freedom fighters. It means that Mswati is on his way down. He's already on his way down, and the fall from Mswati has already begun. And I don't know how far America is going to protect Mswati, and how, by what methods and by what means they are going to be doing that, because America would surely try to protect the king. Although I know that other bodies like the United Nations, they might want to make sure that Mswati is defeated, but there is no way that they will come up in the open or try to offer any assistance or any physical assistance or financial assistance to the pro-democracy fighters. Even SADC, its hands are tied. The hands of SADC are tied, to be honest. So the pro-democracy fighters are quite on their own, and I think they are holding their own right now. I think if they continue on this path, they might actually win the struggle, and signs are there that they might win, because Mswati is a bit isolated. I think it's a lot isolated, and those who support him, who are international bodies or international governments, they are no, maybe they will find it difficult to directly support a absolute monarch who is ruling his country with the repression and suppression, and it's very difficult in this time and age, in this century, to be found to be supporting a person like that. They might try to do so maybe underground, but that I think is far-fetched. It's very, very much far-fetched. So we are on route, we are along the path of maybe having the pro-democracy fighters winning this struggle if they are better organized, and continue doing so without actually giving away each other. The sellouts should be very limited in all instances, because usually when you are fighting a guerrilla warfare like this, you should try to make sure that your friends are around you, so nobody will give you away, because once the sellouts start giving you away, that's where the problem will begin. But I think the pro-democracy fighters are very united, and that even the police are beginning to realize that the end has come, or this is the beginning of the end. If you find that 23 policemen are resigning at one time, this is the security for Mswati. Soon maybe you'll be hiring security from outside, mercenaries. And you know, mercenaries are very unreliable when it comes to fighting for a government. They are not, you can't rely on mercenaries, because mercenaries, once you pay them, maybe they are not motivated, they are not highly motivated, because they are fighting for money. You can't fight someone who is fighting for his freedom, and then you're fighting for money, and your level of dedication and commitment is different. The one who is fighting for his freedom, of course, is very much dedicated, and his level of inspiration and motivation is very, very high, which is why in most countries they don't prefer to hire mercenaries. And I don't think Mswati has got money to do that, and maybe it's because it's just a miser. He doesn't want to use any money for anything. Maybe all the money that he has, maybe he wants to use it when he's run away from Swaziland. This is We Africa. Please subscribe to the channel and share this video with friends. It has been a long time since we've been together here discussing issues like this, but we are all watching from the sidelines, watching the progress that is happening, and we are happy that there is indeed some progress, a lot of progress. And the leaders are actually organizing, are well organized, and this thing is moving on, and the train is really marching on. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.